You can even get it live on the air. Make sure you like our award-winning Kutztown University Radio Facebook page or on Twitter at @KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
He fires, and it is good for a touchdown. It's gone! And Giroux's got it! And the Sixers have scored 9 in a row. Are you kidding me?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio, talking Philadelphia sports. And as the show intro, which suggests Foles firing and throwing a touchdown in that Eagles game this past Sunday, that unfortunately that was not the case against the 49ers over in San Francisco this past Sunday. But anyways, you know, it's a game. The Eagles, the 49ers, a game that, you know, when you're going through the schedule, you know, the schedule came out back in the spring, and, you know, it was one of those games, at least, you know, from my perspective, that I had checked off as a loss, you know, right out of the chute. You know, along with a few other, unless you're like one of those cynical Eagle, you know, fans who thought they were going to go undefeated or something, or one of those national pundits who a few weeks ago were saying this team was going to go 12-4 or even 13-3. You know, this was one of those games that I think, you know, we would allow for a loss, and especially after starting 3-0, which I didn't expect the Eagles to do this season. You know, I sat here last week and I said as well that this is, you know, probably a game that I think that the Eagles will lose, and if they win, you know, then they start 4-0, and it's only a bonus. But they lost, and I'm sure, you know, watching the Redskins get crushed by the Giants on Thursday Night Football, I think, you know, it leads me to believe that game between the Redskins and the Eagles last week, I mean, I think emotionally, you know, that took a lot out of both teams, because I don't think anybody expected the Redskins to, you know, lose that bad to the Giants. It's, you know, the Giants are progressing. You know, you look at how terrible they looked in the preseason, and even game one of the regular season. And, you know, a few games later, you know, it seems like they're a team that really put it together, and, you know, they come out on Thursday Night Football and they crush the Redskins. And, you know, I think the Redskins and the Eagles, you know, maybe they beat each other up emotionally and physically last week in that game. And that's why I allowed for, you know, really why I allowed for this game to be a loss to the San Francisco 49ers. Not only that, I think that the 49ers are you know, despite maybe a 1-2 start, you know, they're not one of those teams that I would sleep on. I know that they're missing Aldon Smith and amongst other guys on defense, and you know, they're Vernon Davis, their tight end, has been banged up, and you know, they've had a rift with Jim Harbaugh running the team, and people saying, oh, he's going to go back to college after this season, and this and that. And I mean, really, though, I don't totally buy into that. You know, the 49ers are not going to be a team that's going to be contending. You know, when it's all said and done, you know, towards the end of the season, I picked the 49ers to be a wild card team. You know, maybe not another 12-4 wild card team, but down the stretch, I've still picked them to put it together and be the fifth seed in the NFC playoffs. And I projected, you know, for those who have listened, or I guess who haven't listened to this show, you know, I projected that the Eagles would be the fourth seed, you know, the fourth division winner. I mean, who knows? Whoever wins the NFC East this year, because, you know, who knows? Maybe it won't be the Eagles. But say the Eagles do win, I mean, maybe they could be better than a fourth seed. You know, maybe the NFC East is not going to turn out as weak as as we thought, as much of a joke of a division as we thought. Obviously, we'll get into more of that later as far as the rest of the NFC East goes. But, I projected the Eagles to lose this game, before any of the season started. And I figured, they'll host a home playoff game, and quite possibly it would be against the San Francisco 49ers. And, quite possibly they could win that rematch here at home. But I mean, you think of that now, think of the Eagles winning a playoff game and thinking that far ahead. After this week, after the way things have seemingly shaken up a little bit this past week, here in week 4, with the Eagles' loss, the Dallas Cowboys win, who are suddenly also 3-1 along with the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Giants, who, they're 2-2, but, suddenly they look like they might be able to put something together and maybe not be a 6-10 or even 5-win team like maybe a lot of people expected, including myself. Maybe the Giants are a 500 or better team now. Who knows? And again, you got the Cowboys. No, again, the old cliche joke is that, well, come December, the Cowboys will stink it up and they'll finish 8-8 for a 4th straight year. Who knows? Maybe the Cowboys drop the ball down the road. I don't know, but my point is that things, based on how the teams have looked in the division this past week, things have really shaken up in the NFC East division. Now, just focusing on the Eagles alone in this loss to San Francisco. Again, I didn't come away from this loss, terribly concerned, or fed up. I've heard, being the guy I am listening to, multiple sports talk shows, listening around to what hosts are saying. The radio hosts out there, from what I can gather, are panned on this Eagles loss. I have, you listen to like Mike Missinelli, for instance.
Beast mode.
Yeah, after this loss, he didn't go beast mode, I guess you could say, on this Eagles loss. He's, kind of with me. It's a game that most of us had as a loss anyways. In the first, after the first quarter of the season, if you were to say the Eagles were going to start 3-1, anybody would take that. Really. So that's that's one way of looking at it. And then on the same radio station, which it's always funny to hear, I guess hosts with varying opinions or drastically different viewpoints, for that matter. Another host says how he picked the Eagles to win this game, and I'm listening last night, as I was picking my car up actually from the shop, as I actually had a little bit of car trouble this past weekend. Oh no! But yeah, fortunately I have my car back. But nevertheless, I'm listening last night, several hours later, I'm listening to another host, say how, I picked the Eagles to win, and how, how he was fed up with this and that. He was disgusted with the play calling at the end of the game. There's so much talk on just those last two plays of that one Eagles drive that they got all the way down to the 1 yard line, and they couldn't execute. Maybe that's a key point I want to, a key word there of that whole sentence, execute. Despite the play calling, this and that, and as far as where to put the blame on this Eagles loss, you get in at 610-683-4859 today on the Tyler Werner Show, or tweet me at Tyler Werner Show on Twitter, or go to facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. with a new logo on the Facebook page, a new profile picture, whatever you want to say, is the KU radio station logo is now different. Our colors went to black and silver. We got Oakland Raiders colors now. I mean,
Loser!
yeah, if that,
You're a loser!
I don't know, that unfortunately that kind of comes off as in the football world, it comes off as colors of a losing franchise. But anyways, I mean, you can get in on the show today and kind of put everything into perspective. Where do you put the blame for this Eagles loss? I mean, this was a game that it was weird because they're up 21-10 early in the game. And the funny thing about that was that at that point, despite being ahead, the offense hadn't done anything. And the offense would not really do anything but turn the ball over until that last drive late in the game where, they almost drove the ball down the field and got a touchdown. When they needed to show up, they almost, pulled another rabbit out of the hat there. But things didn't quite go that way, and we'll break it down on the Tyler Werner Show today. And again, 610-683-4859 is the number to get in. Now, right now, actually, I'm alone in the studio as our producer Tyler Fleming is. He let me know ahead of time he was going to be late. He has some kind of job training for something, so that's a bit of a breaking news update right now. But when he gets in, then we can throw him into the mix, obviously, in the show. But that's why for now I'm not asking for his opinion or whatever. Or he's not chiming in because at the moment he's not here. So but when he gets here, we'll just run some things across him and break the news to him. That once again he lost to me in on-air fantasy this past week. Yeah. So I guess I spoiled that for everybody else. But I don't know. Maybe he knows he lost again too. I don't know. But anyways, 610-683-4859 is the number to get in. This Eagles loss. I mean, again, they're coming off this incredibly emotional game with Washington last week. They had to travel all the way 3,000 miles or whatever to San Francisco. Although apparently, most teams in that situation, they would fly out on Friday for that game. Of course, the Eagles organization under Chip Kelly, being the innovative and different regime that it is, they flew out Saturday instead. But at the end of the, I mean, I don't really care about that. I'm not going to go off on a tangent about that whole idea of science or whatever. But against a desperate 49ers team that I'm thinking there's no way they could start 1-3, and that that was part of my reasoning last week for picking the 49ers to win this game. Again, a lot of emotion, I think, and it was bound to catch up with the Eagles sooner or later. The bottom line is the Eagles, they have 2 more games until they head into the bye week. The good news, I mean, they got the Rams coming up at home this weekend, which, the Rams, they have a good, really good pass defense, but their running defense is 30th in the league, which, maybe hopefully benefits the Eagles, because the Eagles have been, obviously they're known for being a running team, and they've had all kinds of problems running the ball this season, ironically. Another question that comes up is, LaShawn McCoy, he's not the same and this and that. And obviously, I haven't even mentioned yet how the Eagles are down, 3 key offensive linemen. Fortunately, they're going to get Lane Johnson back, although, it might take him a couple weeks maybe to, maybe until after the bye for maybe to get fully in sync with what's going on here. I don't know. Of course, he's coming off of a PED suspension, so he's got to be clean at at this point. See how he, because he's a guy that I guess he really bulked up, quick, rather much in a short period of time, I guess they're saying. I mean, I don't have the full scoop on that, but off PEDs, I mean, I guess let's see how he does, and having not really practiced with the team or anything, playing with them, see how that goes as well. But fortunately, they play the Rams, who have their third string quarterback, I guess, out there now, and the Rams are having problems. It looked like maybe they were going to be a team that was, going to be even push for a playoff spot in that tough NFC East, NFC West division, and it, now it just looks like they're kind of in a little bit in shambles, and they're coming off of a bye week. But I mean, I don't think that's going to mean a whole lot. I mean, I don't think it's made a whole lot of difference. I mean, they're having problems with the third string quarterback and this and that. So I think if the Eagles lose to the Rams, then I think there's definitely gonna be some more reason for concern. But personally, I was concerned after this game. To some extent. Just I'll keep it general now before we go to the first commercial break, but just watching what these other teams in the NFCs did this past week. Well, that being the Giants and the Cowboys, because obviously the Redskins just got totally embarrassed. On Thursday to the Giants, but just watching the way those other two teams in the NFC East have seemed to been really been putting it together over the past few weeks, and just watching the Eagles, their offense get totally shut down in a sense, almost, with the exception of a late game drive, which at the end of the day it didn't, in 4-down territory at the 1. It just didn't, that drive was basically erased because they needed a touchdown there, and they couldn't execute. So that's just a little bit of concern coming off that game. 610-683-4859. The Tyler Fleming update here. I just read the text. This was 15 minutes ago, actually, right when the show was starting. That he just left his job training, so I guess he'll be here in a bit. I mean, that doesn't, no detail there, I guess, but he'll be here soon, I guess is the way to look at that. But anyhow, we're getting to the first break. So with that in mind, we'll continue this discussion on the other side right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio.
The following is KUR's mission. The purpose of KUR is to provide a means of student training and experience in radio broadcasting, to provide a means of entertainment and information for the student body and community, to serve the public interest, and to be an instrument of expression for student, faculty, and community opinion in accordance with the rules of the Federal Communications Commission and KU policy. If ever you, as the public, should have any questions or comments about our mission, feel free to contact us through our website, kur.kutztown.edu. There you'll find a whole host of ways to contact us via our Facebook, Twitter, email, or phone numbers. Thanks for listening to the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR.
1-800-222-1222. 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison, then the first thing you should do is call 1-800-222-1222. Poison can be anything you're not supposed to take. Antifreeze, pesticide, the wrong drug by mistake. If you breathe a nasty chemical, been bitten by a snake, call the poison Poison Control Center hotline. We're here for you night or day.
For a poison or drug emergency at home or at work, just call the Poison Control Center hotline. We're here 24/7 with the expert help you need. Free and confidential. Even if you think it's a false alarm, call
1-800-222-1222 or 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison and you don't know what to do, call 1-800-222-1222.
A message from your Poison Control Center.
Been dazed and confused for so long, it's not true.
624 on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. And yeah, I mean, dazed and confused. I mean, you know, last week I brought up how LaShawn McCoy, he's been having a tough season so far, you know, at least from a standpoint of, you know, getting rushing yards and touchdowns and just overall production. You know, of course, last week he looked, you know, in that Redskins game, he looked dazed and confused. He just, you know, he couldn't get anything going on the ground. And, you know, once again, I mean, I mean, credit to the 49ers. I mean, again, they're short a couple of, you know, Pro Bowl key defensive players on their team. And I mean, what do they do? I mean, they totally stuffed LaShawn McCoy again. Sproles, I mean, they didn't even, you know, they didn't even consider, you know, it. I mean, he's not a power run guy. Obviously, he's 5'6" and 170 pounds, however light or heavy, you know, light he is. But you know, one of the criticisms of this game, you know, the way it was coached is that they didn't use Darren Sproles too much. I mean, you know, they have Chris Polk out there returning kicks occasionally. I mean, well, kickoffs. Seems like every kickoff, but you know, I'm curious in some situations why they don't, you know, why they don't even like consider, you know, giving Chris Polk the ball a couple of times. I know he's, you know, he's a third string running back, but
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
You know, you did see some flashes of him last year in the power run game a little bit. Obviously, one of the main criticisms at the end of the game was, you know, they didn't have LaShawn McCoy run the ball in this and that, and, you know, they threw the ball instead. Some people said it was, you know, they felt like Andy Reid was coaching the last couple of plays. And you know, I don't necessarily think it was that. I mean, LaShawn McCoy on that third down play, I think on that drive, for instance, there's a chance for him to throw a key block on that play. I mean, sure, he hasn't been producing much at all in the run game, you know, once again this week, behind this offensive line that is having, you know, missing key players, obviously. But an opportunity for a crucial block could have allowed Nick Foles, you know, a half second or so more of time, you know, maybe to put that ball in the money to Brent Selleck, you know, touchdown and probably yet another Eagles win. You know, and then the next play, I mean, it was one of those play. You know, Foles is rolling out. Again, it's, you know, one of those things where, you know, Nick Foles, I mean, he doesn't, you know, he doesn't have the speed, unfortunately, in that instance to, you know, to beat the defense to the pylon and get in the end zone for a rushing touchdown. Let's make some noise. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's not his forte in that situation. In that now, however, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were calling the game, and you know, I think they're a great broadcasting team, but I think they said, you know, Foles has nowhere to go with it in that case and he just throws it away and it was a turnover on downs. And I don't know if he didn't have anywhere to go with it. I mean, right after that, I'm thinking, no, I don't know about that. He probably could have, if he would have led the ball a little, if he would have led Jeremy Macklin a little bit, who was in the back of the end zone. He was doing a cross route. I think along with, a couple guys crossing over. And I think possibly you had if you would have, again, I know Foles' strengths are not, throwing the ball in the run. You look on the other, on the other side, though, you got Colin Kaepernick. That is one of Kaepernick's strengths. Of course, that's been one of the debates leading into this game. Would you rather have Kaepernick or Foles as your quarterback? Given that Chip Kelly, supposedly he does have that hidden part of his playbook with, read option plays and everything, and which is designed more for a Colin Kaepernick or Russell Wilson or Cam Newton type quarterback with the ability to run and get out of bounds and or slide and avoid hits. And again, that's one of those cases right there where I'm just thinking, I'm wondering if like Chip Kelly has that feeling like that there's that other girl. I mean, you got a girlfriend, but then there's that other girl, across the room or something at a dance party. I don't know. That has like that element that maybe you wish the girl you're dating had, or something silly like that. But it's just one of those things where, like, on that one, first play, I think LaShawn McCoy should have had a block there on that third down. And maybe that would have allowed Foles maybe a little more time to complete, to put a nice throw to Brent Selleck for the touchdown. And then the next play, I mean, again, it's a bad offensive line right now. Obviously not Jason Peters, but who was a little bit hobbly in this game. I mean, there's the one play where he kind of hobbled off on the sidelines, but he's I guess he's all right at the end of it. But again, you see Foles like kind of on that last play there on that drive, trying to make a break maybe for the end zone, but he's not fast enough. The 49ers were all over it. And he had a chance to, if he led the ball a little bit in front of Jeremy Macklin, he could have caught Jeremy Macklin in stride, I think, for the touchdown. Jeremy Macklin, who, I should add, is thus far he's definitely having a redemption season of sorts. Of course, Macklin had a circus catch in that game. I mean, he had a couple nice catches, and of course, he had that, I think it was a drive-saving, circus catch, obviously, the one-hander. I mean, that catch there was, just roaring round of applause worthy. But then you look across the rest of the receiving. Jordan Matthews was all right. I mean, he caught a few key passes. Riley Cooper in this receiving core continues to be a mystery to me. I mean, again, this is one of those games, and I'm sure there's going to be more games throughout the season, especially since they got to play the Seattle Seahawks defense still. They got to still play the Arizona Cardinals defense. The Houston Texans defense. I mean, that could be interesting still too as well. But I look at a game like this, and I know last week how they beat the Redskins in an emotional game, and Deshaun Jackson had that play on Kerry Williams, that touchdown play where he just rubbed it in all of our faces. But this is one of those games where I'm watching Riley Cooper, drop another touchdown pass that a good receiver makes that maybe Jeremy Maclin would have made even. I mean, you have him switch places there, just hypothetically, obviously. Or you have Deshaun Jackson there this whole game to stretch the field maybe a little more, the speed of Deshaun Jackson. And, it's just one of those things, maybe they're more effective. Maybe they're not getting totally shut down. And maybe this also opens up the run game a little bit. Another criticism of this game in general is that they didn't run the ball enough. I know LaShawn McCoy was ineffective. And, I'm sure they're kind of stressing that, they need to see some more north-south running out of LaShawn McCoy, and that maybe he's trying too hard to go east and west. And, I think they're saying it during the broadcast or whatever that, LaShawn McCoy is very good, second to none at making the second and third guy miss. But if that first guy is all over him, and which has very often been the case these past couple of weeks, then obviously there is no second and third guy that LaShawn McCoy jukes out. And again, I mean, he's really been getting smothered this game, and I don't know. I mean, Darren Sproles obviously effective in the passing game, and his yards per carry on the rush even, are to my surprise are higher than Shady McCoy's. Obviously, the ground game itself is geared more towards LaShawn McCoy. He's the guy that's gonna get 20 or more carries most of the time. Obviously not this game, but most of the time. And, but I'd like to see Chris Polk get, even just a couple of carries in the future. When LaShawn McCoy is having like this much trouble, I don't know. I mean, some say, is he banged up or, I don't know. Did he get a concussion well, I strongly believe he had some kind of concussion last week, and, I'm pretty sure there's, others would second me and confirm that. Some people are wondering, is he still, I don't know, a little iffy? Coming off that concussion, is he still a little dazed and confused? As as coming off of last break, we segue back into the show. We played. I don't know, but the bottom line is every now and then it's not, I think give Chris Polk a couple carries when you need, 3rd and 1 or something. I don't know, or when they're on the goal line at the 1, and if say they do want to run the ball. In this case, I mean, you can share your thoughts at 610-683-4859 on the phone lines, or at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, or at Tyler Werner Show on Twitter. And, rip apart the play calling, especially in those last two plays. I don't have a total problem with the play calling. I think the word pray got stuck in my head because last night, when of course Andy Reid and his Kansas City Chiefs demolished the New England Patriots. Of course, after one of the interceptions on Tom Brady, the one defensive back got flagged for praying, sliding down, I guess, and praying, and I guess apparently it was okay. Actually, it's okay in the rule book, actually, I guess, for him to do that. But yeah, I mean that was you look at that game last night, Andy, Andy Reid and his Kansas City Chiefs are now 2-2. They demolished the New England Patriots last night.
Let's go have a ham sandwich.
Yeah, maybe that's maybe at a celebration that was something he was thinking about last night. I don't know, but anyways, I mentioned again, I mentioned it was the other night after the game. I mentioned it'll be a Time's Yours Tuesday on the Tyler Werner Show.
Time's yours.
Yeah, on this discussion for the Philadelphia Eagles. Basically, whenever that's like a theme of when the Eagles lose this season here on the Tyler Werner Show. Well, because again, I mean, some people have thrown out accusations that that last couple of plays on the goal line were a little Andy Reid-esque or something. Maybe they should have used the shuffle pass. I was listening to Brian Westbrook yesterday talk about how he used to hate when Andy Reid would call that play in that situation, and Brian Westbrook would just think in the back of his mind, oh man, this is I'm gonna get smothered here, and the play's not gonna work, and this and that. So it kind of plays in a little bit here with the Eagles losing, and so they lost this past Sunday. There's all kinds of questions. We'll listen to press conference footage from after the game. Because I mean there are definitely some questions, and you can always pick out like Sal Palantonio's voice, for instance.
I agree.
When he's in the mix at a press conference, I mean you can pick him out of a crowd in a stadium. He had a couple interesting questions himself, so we'll hope to get especially that specific part of the post-game press conference up for Chip Kelly, as there's definitely a lot of questions, and some more I'd like to hear from Chip Kelly, so I can maybe discuss, so it gives me more to discuss about here on the Tyler Werner Show today. And again, right now we're at the moment I'm still waiting on Fleming to get in here, so we can do some of the traditional things on the show, the on-air fantasy football and everything else. But yeah, coming up in the next segment here on the show, we'll get to I think we'll get to the call out of the week, as that's a that's a regular part of the Tyler Werner Show that we can fire up without the assistance of Fleming. So, but he should get here soon. So, again, 610-683-4859 is the number to get in. Right here on the Tyler Werner Show. It is a Time's Yours Tuesday.
Time's yours.
On Kutztown Radio.
It's almost time for you to discover This Way Out. Hi, I'm coordinating producer Greg Gordon, inviting you to tune in to This Way Out, the international gay and lesbian radio magazine, here on Kutztown University Radio, 1670 AM.
1 to 1:30 on Thursdays here on the Radio Voice, KUR.
¿Sabía usted que el 80% de los estudiantes de KU no beben en exceso?
Colgando carteles de nuevo. ¿Crees que ese cartel es realmente cierto?
Sí, es cierto. Soy una embajadora de la salud de KU y estoy familiarizada con el audit. Estudiantes de KU participan en el cribado de alcohol cada año. Utilizamos los exámenes de identificación de desorden del uso de alcohol. Esta es una forma sencilla de detectar e identificar las personas que están en riesgo de desarrollar problemas con el alcohol. Hemos aprendido que la mayoría de los estudiantes están tomando el cuidado de su negocio y centrarse en lo académico.
Parece que esta cosa de beber no es un gran problema. Puedo ver que esto es cierto, ya que la mayoría de mis amigos no beben.
¿Te gustaría conseguir un grupo de amigos para comer algo?
Suena muy bien. Mándame un mensaje post estéreo.
Kutztown Living, vecino a vecino.
Financiado con una donación a través de la tarjeta de control de licor de Pensilvania.
It's 6:44 on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio, discussing the Eagles' Week 4 loss, of course, as it is it's a Times Yours Tuesday on the Tyler Werner Show today. Is, again, a lot of questions to be asked when you talk about this loss, and again, I mean, it's one of those things where, the Eagles, they get off to that early lead, I guess, with the help of some special teams plays, and I mean, it was just quite ironic how the Eagles were up 21-0. I guess obviously you look at the obviously the first Eagles defensive drive, the defense. I haven't even really mentioned yet. Just because the offense was just seemed to come up so short when Chip Kelly is known for being this offensive wizard. That's like the theme of the team here, I guess. I don't, I'm not trying to get in be a poet here, but the defense, I mean, Frank Gore kind of ran all over the Eagles defense all day. Although this was one of those games that kind of resembled some of the games last year, later in the season, where it was a bend but don't break Eagles defense. And, to some extent, especially that they were out there over 40 minutes in the game, a lot in part because the Eagles were scoring on special teams and defense alone, and because the Eagles offense was just going, 3 and out, fumbling the ball, interception. I mean, the Eagles defense, we mentioned last week how, we were calling out Kerry Williams for what he had to say, and, it was kind of funny because then he kind of just retracted what he said, a couple days later after saying that in the Redskins, and they got to step things back in practice. But in this case, the Eagles' defense, they had a brutal workout out there. As Fleming has just entered the studio now, so yeah, we got that. We got him in now. So eventually we'll get to the on-air fantasy segment. But again, I mean, the Eagles, that defense, I'm sure they weren't gonna, predict that they were gonna have a game like that where they have to constantly be out on the field against the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, it's kind of normal that the Eagles defense is out there on the field more often because they can't get off the field on third down or whatever. Or, the secondary is just not that good. Or, the Eagles' offense is scoring points quickly and this and that. But, no, in this case, it was the Eagles' offense wasn't scoring. The 3 early touchdowns they had 2 of them were special teams plays. So that just brings the defense right back out anyways. And the other was a nice pick six from Malcolm Jenkins. His 3rd interception of the season through 4 games. He's definitely paying off for the Eagles defense.
I agree.
And again, now this game they still don't have Michael Kendricks back. Hopefully he can suit up for this next Eagles game. But they're still missing Kendricks, so they still got Casey Matthews out there. But in this game, on defense, they were able to pressure Colin Kaepernick. Obviously a mobile quarterback And at times, I mean, it looked like, Kaepernick was even afraid to, like, run the ball. I mean, it's like, I don't know, they had, like, a spy on him or something, a QB spy or something, but he looked afraid to run the ball at times. And now, Kaepernick did have some of his trademark plays. I mean, the one where he throws across his body, all the way from the other sideline to a wide open Frank Gore. Now, somebody had to be on him, but that was one of those, trademark Colin Kaepernick plays.
That was awesome.
And there's another, there's just like moments where he slides just enough. He gets out of a sack, and then he rifle ones down to Anquan Bolden, who makes a nice catch on a pretty well defended play. But just like a perfect throw. And now Kaepernick, he didn't have his best game. I mean, he telegraphed that pick six to Malcolm Jenkins, but there were just there's some trademark plays that he made. Again, the run game, Frank Gore, at 31, his power run game. I mean, he still gets it done, but. For all intents and purposes here, I mean, the Eagles' defense played pretty well. I mean, the one touchdown they gave up, I mean, I think it was after the Ertz fumble. It was just like a very strange fumble. It just, it comes right out of his hands and goes right into the arms of the 49ers defensive player. And, it's just like one of those unfortunate things. I remember hearing Tom Jackson on the Blitz with Chris Berman later that night on the highlights, and I don't know. I mean, I feel like every other thing that Tom Jackson says, I can't buy. But he said, that a fumble like that was because they're not used to contact in practice, and one of those things about this regime, they don't tackle a whole lot or whatever. They don't play. They're not used to physicality in practice as much as other teams. And I mean, it's one game. I mean, that's his first fumble this season. Obviously Riley Cooper fumbled too, but I mean, that's not a surprise. I mean, Cooper, to me, across the board, however you want to look at it, is a mediocre receiver, as Richard Sherman would say.
Mediocre?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes, and like so far this season, I don't even know if he's even mediocre. It's below mediocre so far. But anyhow, so I wasn't totally surprised about that. I mean, every now and then you're just gonna have these fumbles that. Just you're at the ball, your arm, whatever, is at the wrong place at the wrong time. He was running and he was trying to make a play. So I mean, obviously he's not going to have the ball tucked, to like prevent the fumble at that instance. And it was a fumble that had it just gone out of bounds and had it not been reversed, I wonder if Tom Jackson even, hypothesizes in the first place that, they're fumbling the ball because they're not, because they're not physical enough in practice often enough or whatever. Come on, it's not. I don't think it's necessarily all that. Sometimes that happens, and in this instance, it happened a couple times in this game, and obviously, again, one of them being Riley Cooper. So that's that. I mean, the turnovers and all kinds of more to discuss with this Philadelphia Eagles loss right here on the Tyler Werner Show today. Now, taking a short detour from the Eagles talk, we got the Tyler Werner call out of the week.
It's time for Tyler Werner's call out of the week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all. What's the matter with you? Loser! You're a loser! Are you kidding me?
Well, I have a microphone,
and you don't. So you will listen to every word I have to say!
That's right, you tell him, Adam Sandler. Or should I say Robbie Hart from The Wedding Singer. Anyhow, this week, maybe you would have thought maybe I was going to call out Chip Kelly in the call out of the week. Maybe somebody, I don't know, whoever you want to say from this Eagles team. But no, I don't have an Eagle to call out despite losing the game this past week. In rather disappointing fashion with the total lack of offensive production. No, this is, as of today, I wasn't sure who I was going to call out, actually, until right before the show. I see on my my Facebook news feed that Olympic multi-time gold medalist Michael Phelps was arrested on a DUI charge in Maryland early Tuesday morning. Now, early as in, after midnight morning, not dawn or anything like that. No, he was arrested, and this was on I-95, so kind of a local issue here. He was arrested and charged with DUI and other charges in Maryland early Tuesday morning, confirmed by News 4. Phelps was clocked driving 84 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour speed zone on southbound Interstate 395, leaving Baltimore, said Maryland Transportation Authority Police. So, right off the bat, 84 and a 45 obviously that's not good. But anyways, an officer followed Phelps's white 2014 Land Rover through Fort McHenry Tunnel on northbound Interstate 95, police said. And I mentioned earlier how my 2000 Chevy Malibu that I bought several years ago for $1,400 was getting repaired in the shop. How about him? He's got a 2014 Land Rover. He gets pulled over for this. He was authorities say he was speeding, obviously by 40 miles per hour and crossing double lines in the tunnel. Now, Phelps was stopped just beyond the tunnel's toll plaza. Authorities say he appeared to be under the influence and failed a series of field sobriety tests. Phelps was cooperative during the process, they said, however, but Phelps was charged with DUI, excessive speed, and crossing double lane lines. He was arrested around 1:40 a.m. TMZ first reported. TMZ, of course, always on top of these, these athletes and celebrities and their problems, like with the Ray Rice video leakage and everything like that. He's been charged with DUI previously, about 10 years ago. He was only 19 at the time. So, again, it's another DUI for Michael Phelps here. And, of course, last time I think I brought up a DUI on this show was, of course, with Donovan McNabb when... I'm embarrassed. Yeah, when he got a DUI in, last December or something, and it didn't really... the news and everything, I guess, somehow kept under wraps for months, and then finally it came out later on. Suddenly, a mugshot of Donovan McNabb appearing on the internet and, on TMZ.com, I think, once again, kind of leaked that, and, and then suddenly it became apparent to everyone that McNabb actually had a DUI several months prior to that time. So, but
Number 5 will always love you.
Yeah, so yeah, that's, again, a DUI on the I-95, who knows who'd be traveling up that. That's sort of local. So, a guy like Olympic champion like Michael Phelps getting a DUI, that's not good. So, but anyways, 610-683-4859 is the way to get on today's show. Is we head into the 7 o'clock hour. We'll continue Eagles talk, and we'll talk around the NFL as well, as there were some obviously some interesting games, and we'll definitely try to get up some Chip Kelly press conference. As obviously it's a Time's Yours Tuesday.
Time's yours. And
we have, so obviously, hear from Chip Kelly and discuss some of what comes out of it. Obviously, it wasn't a loss that, I guess you go crazy over. It was a game that I didn't think that they were supposed to win. Now it's kind of a shame that they had despite struggling so much on offense, they had a chance to steal the game. On that last drive, and they even got the ball back again, and they just on the very last offensive drive, they couldn't do anything. They were getting penalties, pushing themselves back further. They were having 4th and longs, and again, it kind of harkens back to some old days when say you got Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb on those 4th and long situations, and it kind of reminds me a bit of that, and they just can't get it going on offense pretty much all game. And what was looking like perhaps a game that the Eagles could steal once again, and start out 4-0. I mean, it just it felt like they were never in control of this game. After being up 21-10, so. That's the bottom line. As we, we're now 4 games into this Eagles season. First quarter, I guess, as you would say. Right here in the NFL season, and with the Philadelphia Eagles, as they're now tied with the Dallas Cowboys at 3-1, and they got the Giants right there in the mix, who are just 2 weeks away against the Philadelphia Eagles. So, it seems like it's going to be an interesting season. These, obviously, within the division, these next few weeks, definitely to see, see if the Cowboys can continue their momentum, and if, if the Giants maybe rise up too. I don't know. Redskins, they have I think they have the Seahawks coming up this weekend on the bye. So, I think you can basically chalk that up right now as a stone loss to the Seattle Seahawks, and essentially a 1-4 start. I think for the Washington Redskins, is things aren't looking too good for them, and Kirk Cousins really came back down to earth against the Giants on Thursday Night Football last week. So with that in mind, we will hit halftime. I guess the halftime break on the Tyler Werner Show. Again, 610-683-4859 is the number to get in. Or Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, or on Twitter @Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this.
Listening to the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR Kutztown, found on campus at 1670 AM. Throughout eastern Berks County is the audio backdrop of KUTV Service Electric Berks Channel 24, Service Electric Lehigh Channel 266, and Hometown Utilicom Cable Channel 28. Anywhere in the world, streaming live at kutztown.edu/KUR. On your smartphone by downloading an app like TuneIn, and on any phone, cell, or landline simply by dialing 610-465-7860. We are the radio voice of Kutztown. KUR Kutztown.
KUR can also be heard in select campus buildings like the MSU, Rickenbach, Stratton, Rec Center, and Keystone at 88.3 FM.
Nominated for Best College Radio Station at an institution with under 10,000 enrollment, and winner of Best Use of Social Media, your news leader in northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown.
The KUR News Time is the top of the hour. I'm Mike Regensberger. Well, the suburbs of northeastern Berks County besides Kutztown recently lost their northeastern Berks Regional Police Force in favor of the state police, but all hope may not be lost for some consolidation of emergency services, not necessarily police-wise, but ambulance-wise. The Red Eagle reports a draft of the Eastern Berks Joint Comprehensive Plan recommends creating an emergency services alliance to provide regional fire and ambulance for areas like Topton and the townships of District and Rockland. The new proposal would not include Long Swamp Township, which was previously a part of the plans. Quote, as a rural area develops, local officials find themselves torn between retaining low levels of taxation and providing increasing levels of public services expected by newcomers, the plan reads. At some point, new residents usually outnumber the existing inhabitants, and political winds change. A lack of volunteers was also addressed in the document, saying that an alliance would ensure coverage during the day when volunteers are working. A preliminary plan will be discussed October 22nd in the District Township Municipal Building. Checking KUR Sports, freshman Steve Main of the Kutztown University men's cross-country team won his first collegiate race this past weekend, earning him the week's Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference Athlete of the Week, released by the conference office Monday afternoon. Main took home the gold at Saturday's Don Cathert Invitational hosted by Salisbury University. The freshman won his first place in just his second completed meet of the season. He also finished 8th at the season-opening Gallon Piper Invitational at Shippensburg. Main and the Golden Bears return to Golden action next weekend, Saturday, October 4th, for the Paul Short Invitational at Lehigh University. Race time is set for 10 a.m. in Bethlehem. Special thanks to KUBears.com for this report. Monsoon might see some midweek showers and then turning slightly cooler, turning majorly cooler for the weekend.
Join the mirth and merriment of the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair as His Majesty Henry VIII supremely reigns over the revelry Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. through October 26th. Advanced discount tickets at PARenfair.com. Experience the fantasy of the glorious Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair.
The Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair, a kingdom for everyone.
Turnpike exit 266. Tickets at PARenfair.com. Long live the king.
Huzzah!
Attention heavy metal fans, Five Finger Death Punch and Volbeat will be at the Santander Arena Wednesday, October 1st at 6:10 p.m. Tickets and details at santander-arena.com or on Ticketmaster.com. For late-breaking news, weather, sports, and traffic, sometimes before we can even get it live on the air, make sure you like our award-winning Kutztown University Radio Facebook page or on Twitter at @KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services, Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
.706 on the Tyler Werner Show. It's time to give my top 5 impressions around the NFL this past week, as we had some other interesting games other than the Eagles game, obviously. One of them being on Thursday Night Football. There's always an impressive game on one end of the spectrum, I guess you could say, on Thursday Night Football so far this season, as the New York Giants appear, after a really rough-looking preseason, and the past few weeks, they've definitely seems like they've been putting it together. And against the Redskins, division game here. Obviously, the Redskins coming off of that loss to the Eagles last week. That very high octane, physical and emotional battle, I guess you could call it. They really lay an egg here against the Giants. The Giants beat them 45-14, and it kind of just looks like the Redskins, I don't know. We'll see how they finish later on in the season, but again, they got the Seahawks coming up this week, and I think they're in some trouble. So, but Giants get a big win here, 45-14. Number 4, I gotta say, the Baltimore Ravens, with obviously Steve Smith Sr., I guess, is, he's 35 years old, and he goes by Steve Smith Sr. now. I guess to avoid confusion with another Steve Smith in the league. He has, of course, on my my NFL.com fantasy team, I started him this week, and he had a field day against his former Carolina Panthers team where he played for so many years, and yeah, he looks seemingly ageless in this game. Ravens get a huge win, 38-10. Very, very impressive for the Ravens, and right now they're hanging with the Cincinnati Bengals a little bit, who lead that division. Now you go across the board a little bit, and you go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 3, delivering a huge upset to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Buccaneers, they just comes down to a late pass play by Mike Glennon out of Vincent Jackson, and they stun the Steelers in Pittsburgh, 27-24. And as the old adage from Tony Bruno would say, the Buccaneers get off the schneid, and they're no longer winless. Number 2, I got to go with the Green Bay Packers. Last week, Aaron Rodgers he told his fan base to relax. Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, yeah, Aaron Rodgers last week after they lose to the Lions, they get shut down by the Lions. The Packers of all teams, they get held to 7 points. Aaron Rodgers, he told his fans, everybody just relax. And last week, this past week, they would go on to beat the division rival Chicago Bears 38-17. They demolished the Bears. That was one of my play of the week kind of picks. There's no way I would think that the Packers would go 1-3 with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. It's just one of those things. The week before the Lions, they shut them down, but I just, there's no way that this, Aaron Rodgers would start 1-3 with his team, and Jordy Nelson having another field day game, and as he did a couple of weeks ago. Huge win for the Packers in the division as they're 2-2. Number 1, I don't know. It's kind of a tie actually between the Saints, who have just seemingly fallen off the map, to losing 38-17 to the Dallas Cowboys this past week. Cowboys that was supposedly have the worst defense in NFL history, as coined by some experts, hold the New Orleans Saints to 17 points, who the stat was that 100 games minimum coached, that the Saints obviously have one of the great coaches in this league, Sean Payton. They're averaging like 26 points per game or something under him, and Cowboys defense, of all defenses, seems to be putting it together so far. And Rob Ryan, of course, the former coordinator of the Cowboys defense, now coordinating the Saints defense. He looked like he wanted to just rip somebody's helmet off on the Saints defense and just throw it across the field. I don't know. I don't whatever you want to say there, but that game, and the Chiefs, of course, demolishing the Patriots last night. The Patriots, along with the Saints, just another team that just doesn't look the same this season. And again, Monday Night Football last night, big stage, and the Chiefs, they demolished the Patriots 41-14. And apparently the Patriots, they just continue to have struggles on offense this season. Credit to Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now
let's go have a ham sandwich.
2-2. Obviously a big win on the New England Patriots, and that's quite an impressive victory, and the Chiefs are a team that's starting to look like they're putting it together after a rough start, 0-2 start to this season as well. So that's that. That's this week's edition of Top 5 Impressions around the NFL this past week. A lot of interesting games as usual. Now we didn't, obviously in the first hour, we didn't get to the fantasy football, on-air fantasy football game last week. Now that we get Fleming into the show a little bit and pick teams again. Last week was high scoring. Aaron Rodgers was a good play on quarterback, and Chargers defense was a good play as well. But unfortunately, Fleming, you had Calvin Johnson, who seemed to get banged up in the game and was unproductive, and Julio Jones wasn't quite as productive as he was the week before. Yeah, and the Falcons losing to the Minnesota Vikings, too. It's the Vikings, who are having another quarterback carousel season, as Bridgewater went down in that game. And the Vikings, of course, they don't have Adrian Peterson out there playing for obvious reasons, but the Vikings upset the Falcons, and suddenly I wonder if the Falcons are like the Saints, where they just they're not good on the road. I don't know. They're good at home, but they're not good on the road. One of those teams. Gates had a down week for you, and on my end, Rivers had a decent week. Not quite the week Rodgers had, but a decent week. Antonio Brown for me was a big play on wide receiver. He had 2 touchdowns, a lot of yards. So that was a good play for me, which would make this a 57-40 game this week in the fantasy football on-air competition, I guess you want to call it. So this week, as usual, we'll start from scratch, and we'll pick new players. So with that in mind, Fleming, you once again get the first pick this week of position, and first pick of the player in that position. So you know the drill.
All right, I think I'm going to go with another quarterback, as always, as I start with Drew Brees against Tampa Bay this week at home.
At home, that's the key. I think a bounce back week might be due for Brees and the Saints, especially at home. I just mentioned that they're they're a good team. They seem to be much better at home. So, all right. So you got Brees. So I gotta look here and see next week. See what quarterback plays who. Now let's see. The Packers at the Vikings at home, and I'm considering. I think I look across the board. Yeah, I think that's probably my best bet. I can't take Rivers. I took Rivers last week, so yeah, I'm gonna go Aaron Rodgers. I think that might be my best option there at quarterback at home against the Vikings.
Fair pick.
Yep. So now I pick next position. I think I'm gonna go defense here, because defense can be pretty key in this whole competition. Now the matchup that stood out to me this week that I like is I hate to the Patriots has struggled on offense this season, and the Bengals defense coming off the bye is going to face the New England Patriots, and you saw what the Chiefs did to this Patriots offense. I'm going to have to go with the Bengals defense this week, coming off the bye.
All right, on defense, I think I'm going to have to go with Steelers against Jacksonville. I have faith in they've always been defensive minded, and I think they'll do pretty well against them.
Yeah, that's right. That and the Bengals or the Jaguars are just in shambles.
Yeah.
So yeah, they haven't been doing anything on offense. So yeah, that's probably a good pick. And now you get to pick the next position before we take a break from picking that.
Right. I think I'm going to go wide receivers here. Let's see, I had Julio Jones and Calvin Johnson last week. I think I'm going to go...
Yep.
Let's see here. I'll go Jordy Nelson.
All right, coming off of a big week, obviously. So yeah, Jordy Nelson, put you down for him. Now let's see, I can't. Last week I took Antonio Brown, Brandon Marshall. So that leaves me open to some guys out there. Calvin Johnson's banged up, so I'm not. He's a little banged up and questionable right now, so I'm not going to go him. You know what? I'm going to go Kelvin Benjamin. The Bears defense is having problems, and Kelvin Benjamin on my actual online NFL.com fantasy team has been pretty well, pretty reliable. So yeah, I'll go Kelvin Benjamin for my first receiver pick. The Bears secondary having some problems lately, so yeah, that'll wrap that part up for this, at least for this, I guess, part one of picking the fantasy teams for today. And pretty good timing. I just checked the clock and it's 7:20 and it's time to go to the next break. So on the other side, I want to see if I can get some of this Chip Kelly audio up from the other day and maybe take a listen into that. And discuss some more on, what happened with this Eagles offense in particular this past week. In a loss that, I expected them to lose this past week, but not in the way they lost. I guess we can, I guess kind of sums it up in a decent enough way there. So with that in mind, it's the Tyler Werner Show, and it's right here on Kutztown Radio.
Hi, we are Pack 183, and we love listening to KUNR.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that, overall, you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff. But still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
So I face the
7:22 on the Tyler Werner Show. Yeah, I always hate those YouTube ads that just pop up and interfere with what you're trying to do there. But anyhow, yeah, I do have some of this Chip Kelly press conference coming up. There's other, I was listening to some other interviews, like particularly Nick Foles. He had some good things to say. Maybe we don't, other than the usual sound bites of, Nick Foles that are always in rotation. How's everyone doing? Yeah, like that. We don't hear like too much of Nick Foles on this show. So maybe we'll listen to some Nick Foles later. He seemed to have a positive outlook coming off of, a pretty bad game. Obviously the offensive line was banged up, which, with this Chip Kelly press conference video footage is the title. Of course, Kelly were banged up on offense. Before we get to the press conference, one of my kind of criticisms was that, last week they were banged up as well. I mean, last week, in fact, they were probably in a worse off situation because in the middle of the game, most of the game, their center goes, Jason Kelsey goes down. And then later on in the game, Jason Peters, of course, gets suspended for, throwing the punches and everything. And, what's the matter with you? But, so at that point, they were basically down all but one of their, usual starting linemen. So, I mean, they had to think on the fly. I mean, they had to put up with that on the fly. At least, I guess heading in this 49ers game, I mean, they at least had a week to prepare for, the guys they were missing on the offensive line. And so, I mean, obviously the Redskins defense isn't as good as the 49ers defense, even still, the 49ers are missing a couple of their key guys, obviously. But, I mean, still, just the fact that they couldn't get the ball down the field at all. I mean, it took them for, till those last couple of drives or whatever, I guess. The second to last drive, they even crossed the red zone. It's just hard to believe with Chip Kelly was supposed to be this, offensive genius, obviously, so to speak. And, it's just kind of hard to believe. And, I'm not trying to say he forgot how to coach here in this game, but it's just, a bit mind-boggling. And, again, maybe, they're a bit emotionally and physically drained. I don't know, maybe Foles was still a little banged up from last week's game with the Redskins, amongst other guys that maybe were banged up to some extent. And maybe just weren't mentally or emotionally 100% there. And, maybe that played into it to some extent against a desperate 49ers team. But, I mean, to me, it's a little bit concerning when you have DeMarco Murray on the Dallas Cowboys leading the league in rushing. First 4 games of the season, more than 100 rushing yards. Some would say that LaShawn McCoy is the best running back in the NFL, but if you ask me right now, I hate to say it, but Dallas Cowboys right now have that guy, the best running back in the NFL. Can't believe I'm saying it, but they seem like they're putting it together. The past 3 weeks, obviously, they're winning, win 3 straight. And they just, totally dismantled the Saints. But the Saints, one of these teams that might just be in shambles this year. And it's, another team that it's hard to believe that they've started 1-3. But nevertheless, that's where we're at right now. So with that in mind, before I get too far off topic there with the Dallas Cowboys, we'll listen into some of what Chip Kelly had to say at the game after press conference a little later on. I think hopefully we hear a little bit of Sal Paolantonio's questions in there, as he kind of traded shots a little bit with Chip Kelly, if I remember listening the other night. So here it is.
3 and 4 man rush and played a ton of zone and didn't do anything. A lot of base defense today.
Can you take us through those 2 plays at the 1 yard line on the second to last drive?
Yeah, I tried to surprise them on the run before that. They got us down to the 1, but I knew they were going to just pack it in there, and we hadn't run the ball very well all day long. So just trying to put it in the quarterback's hands and try to run a crossing route, bringing the tight end underneath, and miss that. And then on the next play, we just tried to get Nick on the perimeter. I wanted to get him away from the rush, see if we could get him on the edge, and he had a couple options, but we just sailed it a little bit high. So.
What do you think the problems are in the run game?
We got whooped up front. We're not very good up front right now. We've got a lot of guys banged up, and that's not an excuse. That's just the reality of it. And Jason Peters was the only guy that was playing the position that he started the season at. So, Todd moved out. We got 3 new guys inside, and when you play against a front like that, Justin Smith, one of the best players in the game. Patrick Willis, Ian Williams, McDonald, that group, we got beat. And when your front can handle it and stop the run game but generate a pass rush, then you can sit back and play zone and not give up a lot of big plays, and that's kind of been their MO. So.
What does it say about the team that was still in it and didn't have?
I thought phase-wise, obviously offensively, we didn't do anything, but our special teams and our defense, I thought, played really, really well. To get 4 sacks on Kaepernick, I think had a 5th one, but we got a penalty, and it just seemed like it was one of those days where I thought our defense did a really nice job. They were on the field way too much. We couldn't generate anything offensively. But, to have a interception return for a touchdown, a blocked punt for a touchdown, and a punt return for a touchdown was big, and you're going to have there's going to be days when one of the phases isn't playing well, and you hope that the other two can bail it out, and they got us close, but we couldn't finish it offensively. That's on us.
So we're not moving the ball and not getting first downs, like you said, the defense was on the field too much.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you have to huddle up and eat some clock at some point?
3 and out, it's only going to get you an extra 20 seconds. We got to get first downs. That's the biggest thing. So, we had 3 and outs and 2 and outs. So.
When you're getting no first downs, once you take 40, 60 extra seconds, keep the defense on the field.
Yeah, that's not what we do. So.
Are you forced to call the game differently on the offensive lines and everybody?
Yeah, we called the game a lot differently than we normally do when we got the other guys in there. But that's par for the course. You got to try to make some decisions in terms of which way we can go with it and run certain plays certain ways just because of who's in the game. So.
Did you get a good view of Colts' sort of
Which one are you talking about?
it was in the last drive.
Oh, on the first one, the Reds. I didn't see it. I saw the play, but from where we're standing, I can't tell you whether he could have or couldn't have. And
Do you have the potential next week of having 3 of your offensive line in the natural spots, like Jones and Harris? Do you think is that going to be enough to put you over the hump, or do you think?
Good question. I don't know. We haven't seen Lane or had any communication with him until, he can get back tomorrow, from my understanding. So we'll get a chance to visit with him. But we hope, it's one of the things we hope coming after the San Francisco game. At least there's help on the way. So we'll get Lane in here and see what we can do, and maybe that adds a little bit of stability to it. But we need to really get it figured out up front right now.
Are Shady struggles entirely the struggles you have up front?
Yeah, I think. We couldn't get anything going up front. So it was very tough sledding for anybody in there. It wasn't like if you put Darren in there, that Darren's running up and down the field, and it's on LaShawn. It isn't. Running the football is a cooperative deal. It's got to be everybody, and we just didn't get it done. So.
All right, that's what we got for now. So yeah, of course, Chip Kelly, just saying how the run game is a cooperative deal, and yeah, to some extent, yeah, you got to agree with that to some extent. How, yeah, LaShawn McCoy's getting smothered pretty quickly on his runs, and obviously if he doesn't have time, I guess, in the open field to make guys miss, obviously that's going to hurt him. So, but it's just one of those things where the idea interests me a little bit of maybe trying Chris Polk out there, maybe some of his power run game a little bit. I don't know. Because they just, the bottom line is they didn't get it done, and there was it's a little unfortunate, I think, like the very last drive when the Eagles actually got the ball back, and it was like I don't know, they had a couple penalties that were pushing them back and just making it harder for them to even get a first down. There was a time where they take LaShawn McCoy off the field and they bring out Darren Sproles, and Joe Buck points that out, and as that's happening, I'm thinking, if the next play the ball's probably going to Darren Sproles in some form or another, probably a screen pass, and I think unfortunately it's too predictable, because that next play, for instance, Darren Sproles gets a screen pass, and it looked like the 49ers were all over it, and it was loss of yardage and another down loss there, and it's a little unfortunate when I'm sitting at home watching the game on TV, and I sniffed that out myself, and I might want to consider maybe not making it too obvious at times when maybe if a few plays later, maybe they get the ball to Darren Sproles. I don't know, but it just I felt like it was too obvious at times that the ball was going to go to Darren Sproles, for instance. And I mean, you hate to rip the coach of the team here, but I mean that's it. I mean maybe in the screen game, maybe throughout the game, maybe Sproles could have been used more, but it didn't seem like he was used a whole lot. And when, and then when they bring him out suddenly, it just looked like they were going to go to Darren Sproles all the way with a screen pass, and the 49ers were all over, and it was a bit unfortunate. But speaking of Darren Sproles, I mean, that I guess on the bright side a little bit, I mean, that punt return he had early in the game, I mean, that was awesome. He had I mean, on that play there was a face mask call. I mean, he just like, I guess he has a habit of guys grabbing him by the face mask by accident. I think just because he's 5'6" and just by nature, I mean, I think guys accidentally grab him by the face mask because of that. But nevertheless, I mean, on that punt return, I mean, it's like he gets grabbed by the face mask, and then, but right after that, boom, he just jets up and 82-yard punt return or whatever it was for the touchdown, and that was key. I thought right away in the game when the Eagles blocked that punt in the 49ers own end zone, and the defense got all over it. I mean, it's just one of those moments in a football game where you just say, "Oh man, this, there's no come down here for the Eagles after that big, they were ready to go, and they emotionally they'd recovered from, they got all the juice back and flowing, I guess you could call it, again, and it just looked like they were going to be all over him that game. Some people, I was hearing how some people called for a huge Eagles win, like a blowout. I mean, thinking that the 49ers were that much in shambles that, the Eagles were just going to come out and destroy them. But, and at first, in a sense, it kind of looked like that. But it's just hard to believe that the Eagles offense could just never capitalize in this game, really at all. It was, a bit unfortunate. Now, taking another detour from the Eagles talk, just temporarily. Last week I totally forgot to do my pressure picks of the week. So, I guess. I guess my bad on that. I totally forgot to even include that segment in the show. I guess we just got so caught up in whatever else we were talking about. But this week I'll make a few a trio of pressure picks as usual. Right here on the Tyler Werner Show, as we look at the games that are coming up in Week 5. Some of the more competitive games that look like they could go either way. And one of them being a battle of Texan teams, the Texan teams in the NFL, the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys. The Texans coming off a win, after losing Week 3, they go to 3-1, but Dallas is just rolling right now, and I think that the Cowboys are going to win this game against the Texans. Maybe it'll be a bit defensive, which is hard to believe considering how bad most people, including myself, thought this Cowboys defense would be right now. But so far they haven't been too bad. And the Texans, I mean, they have a decent running game, and they got Andre Johnson, but other than that, they don't have much of an offense, and that's that. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys in that game and go into 4-1. They're running the ball really well. They've been balanced and pretty solid defensively. So take the Cowboys in that. Looking across the board, you got obviously the Chiefs coming off of a big win over the New England Patriots. and they're going to travel to San Francisco, take on the 49ers. But I think the 49ers they're going to start rolling here, and I think they're going to, I think they're going to knock the Chiefs a little bit more back down to size, and I think continue to win some games here and get above 500. So I have that. Then you have the Arizona Cardinals going to Denver, take on the Denver Broncos. Both teams coming off of a bye. I think here in this case, I think the Broncos. I think they're going to beat the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are bound to lose this game. I just don't. They got Drew Stanton doing a decent job filling in at quarterback, but Peyton Manning off the bye. The Broncos, they got to bounce back. I think they got to bounce back coming off the loss from Seattle, and again, I mean, both teams coming off their byes rather early in the season here. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Broncos in that game, and when it's all said and done after this week, if the Broncos do it, the only unbeaten team left in the league may be the Cincinnati Bengals. If they they beat the Patriots, who have looked pretty lackluster on offense, and obviously they didn't look good on defense against the Chiefs this past week. Bengals could be the only undefeated team after this week. I don't know. Maybe the Cardinals upset the Broncos a little bit. But it's hard to believe that through 4 weeks in the season, there's only 2 undefeated teams, and both of those teams are just had their bye week as well. So nobody has 4 wins right now as we speak after 4 weeks. That's hard. That's hard to believe, and from what I can remember, that could be a first for all I know. I don't know, but anyhow, running into the last break here before we close down the show, which we'll do with some Nick Foles audio. Positive outlook, ready to rebound. But he had some good things to say about his teammates. So that's I guess from a quarterback standpoint, that's good, I guess. We'll also finish up picking the on-air fantasy football teams as usual before we run out of time with that. So with that in mind, we'll be right back on the Tyler Werner Show after this.
It's Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us.
If you had to make a playlist that represented all of humanity, what would it sound like? Hi, I'm Michael O'Donohue, and I'm going to be talking about the Voyager and the Golden Record today. In 1972, humanity began one of its most optimistic and ambitious projects, titled Voyager. 2 Voyager spacecraft were launched in order to explore the outer reaches of our solar system. They would beam back information in the form of data and pictures during the course of their flight. Voyager was imbued with a second purpose, though. In the off chance that these craft should ever be encountered by other life forms, objects were placed on Voyager to serve as inanimate ambassadors for humanity. Amongst these various objects, that included mathematical equations and a map to Earth, was a golden record. The record contained imagery of Earth and a carefully curated playlist of humanity. The creative director, Ann Drayan, and her husband, Carl Sagan, consulted many ethnomusicologists to select songs from throughout the history of humanity that would best represent the major nationalities of Earth. In addition to the music of Earth, a litany of sounds from around our planet were also recorded. So what will extraterrestrial life get to hear if they ever encounter Voyager and the Golden Record? Well, here's a small sample of the 30-plus selected sounds and songs. Bach. The sound of wind through the trees. Beethoven. A mother speaking to her newborn child. Ancient Chinese harp music. A greeting, repeated in 55 different languages. A train roaring across tracks. A pod of whales. And my personal favorite of the list, Chuck Berry.
Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us. Stay tuned to KUR for more telescopic topics, and for more information or to hear the segment again, click on the Telescopic Topics icon on the KUR website at www.kutztown.edu/KUR. Telescopic Topics is a production of the KU Physical Sciences Department and is recorded by the KU astronomy students in the studios of KUR. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
It's 7:44 right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. We're closing things down today. We're about to listen to some Nick Foles audio, of course, coming off of the loss to the Eagles and looking forward. So yeah, we'll listen to Nick Foles.
How's everyone
doing? I look at I'm following the Flyers preseason schedule a little bit. Of course, they're coming off of three nights in a row where they had a game, and unfortunately, not that it really matters, but they lose 6-3 to the Rangers last night. I guess waiting on the regular season really, where they should have. I think by then, hopefully they'll have Claude Giroux back, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, he got banged up a little bit last week, lower body injury, but hopefully he should be back at full strength by the start of the regular season. So that's that for now with the Flyers. If things were to go bad with the Eagles, I don't know. At least maybe we have the Flyers a little bit. Of course, now that Phillies baseball season is over, and a pretty uninteresting one, if that. Unless you want to, talk about shenanigans with, Jonathan Papelbon and Cliff Lee throughout the season, and I don't know, but yeah. Other than that, we got Nick Foles, who we'll listen to here the other night after the Eagles game, with some positive things to say, coming off of that loss to the 49ers and an absolute struggle on offense. So let's take a listen in Nick Foles.
Nick, can you run me through third down, fourth down plays down the goal line?
We wanted to really have a couple options with the pass plays, and in those situations we just have to execute. It's as simple as that. San Francisco's a very, very good team, and they got us today. But we got to, as an offense, we have to stay away from penalties. We have to really execute on first down. We can't go to the second down long, and that's something that we're going to work towards. We're going to look at this film critical like we always do, and we're going to be better for it because I know the guys that are in that locker room.
Just that they did put a lot of Zoom. So that showed up on tape for the game. What was it about seeing it and then going out there against it that made you guys struggle?
We just have to execute. They out-executed us, and they beat us on offense. And it's as simple as that. We just have to early. I got to hit some passes to really get the chains moving for us, and then I think it just goes as an offense. We can't go to second and long. It's really hard once you get outside the chains to get back in and get that first down. So we have to move the ball. We start moving it a little bit at the end, but our team did a great job on defense and special teams. They really kept us in the game. And as an offense, we're going to look at this and we're going to be better for it. I know, like I said, I know those guys, and we're going to be a better team because of this.
Nick, before we got in here, you were talking about, can you take us through the goal line sequence?
Yeah, we just didn't execute. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to try to break it down or anything. We didn't execute the play in that situation. I got to give the guys the opportunity to make a play, and I didn't do that. And, we'll work towards it in those situations. We got to capitalize and get the ball in the end zone.
What did you see in the throw to Cooper in the end zone? Try to get him back? Try to just give him an opportunity to make a play. I knew it was going to be a tight window, but try to keep it high and back there. And
take a shot in that instance.
What was the confidence of the team like at halftime? You got the two special teams touchdowns, defensive touchdown. I guess you guys had to figure that your offense is going to figure a way to come alive.
Yeah, I mean, there's never a time where we waver. We always remain confident, and we didn't play well offensively today, but our team, special teams and defense, really kept us in the game and did a great job. And we turned it on at the end, but it's just in those situations when you get the ball down there, we as offense have to capitalize, and that starts with the quarterback.
Nick, how much tougher is it on you when the team can't not the ball?
If we're throwing the ball, I got to execute. We want to be able to run and throw, but at the same time, we were trying to throw the ball, and they were doing a good job of stopping our run, and I just have to execute and make sure I give our guys the opportunity to make a play.
You have a young offensive line right now. You guys are not going to play nowhere. I mean, how can you need for the next several weeks? I mean, how can you guys get this going?
We're going to be fine. You're going to go through things like this in life. You're going to have a rough game, and it's just I have all the confidence in the world because I know my teammates. I know those guys. I know the guys that are on the O-line, and we're going to learn, and we're going to be better for it because they're not going to beat themselves down. They're going to look at this as an opportunity to get better, and that's why I love them. And we will move forward, and we do have some young guys, but they blocked their butts off as hard as they could tonight, and they always play as hard as they can, and that's all I can ever ask of them.
What about the plays that Jeremy made to get him in position to score at the end?
Yeah, Jeremy made it like he always does. He made some big catches for us and really gave us the opportunity to get the ball down there. Jordan Matthews on a scramble drill did a great job, and we started moving it. And it takes big plays like that to really move the chains, especially today. Defensively, I mean, that's a great team. They really played a great game tonight. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So there you go. Nick Foles at the podium the other night. There's some, good things to say about his teammates, and, obviously guys that he's not familiar with, being under center and on the offensive line, and, we'll be better for it, for this game, and, after this struggle and this and that. So it's, some good stuff there out of Nick Foles, and hopefully, hopefully they beat the Rams this week, and maybe, maybe ease some of the, some of the worry that some people may have out there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's another one of those situations where, as Aaron Rodgers would say, to, just relax. Yeah, but anyhow, but nevertheless, I mean, the Eagles, they should beat the Rams either way, and if they don't, then that might be a little disappointing because the Giants are looking pretty strong lately, and that's who they play before they go into the bye. Right now, I mean, that game could go either way. I mean, originally you go through the schedule, and you check that off. You assume that the Giants were going to stink this year, and but slowly they look like they're putting it together so far, and I don't know, they could be a dangerous team down the road. Typically in the middle of the season, at least the past few years, I think, like the Giants, maybe not as much last season, but they're a team that would start strong, and then in the middle of the season they just they wouldn't play well. And, other teams would catch up, would pass them or catch up to them or whatever. And then at the end of the season, they just turn it on. And last season, they kind of turned it on at the end of the season after, they had an awful start to the season. But, they're a team you can't, at least right now, that I don't think you can sleep on. And certainly the Cowboys are looking pretty strong. And, they got balance on offense. Their defense is really overachieving so far. With seemingly nobody on, no talent really at all.
I agree.
Somehow they're putting it together on defense so far, and it's the NFC East is not looking as weak as maybe some people would have thought. So that's really where we're at right now. All right, now let's get back to picking our on-air fantasy teams with Fleming and myself. Now we left off. Let's see. We left off with you picking Jordy Nelson and me picking Kelvin Benjamin at wide receiver. And now we pick our next position. Now I guess the ball's in my court. I'll pick running back here next. And let's see. I'm trying to think who I could pick this week for. You know what? I'm gonna go Marshawn Lynch, who he had they're coming off the bye. The Redskins appear to be a bit in shambles, and I think coming off of a week rest, I'm gonna go Marshawn Lynch at running back.
You stole my backup.
I think I did that the first week we did this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right. I have someone else in mind. I'm going to go with DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, see, that would have been my second consideration.
All right, so we're basically on the same page almost. So.
Yeah, Murray. I mean, I'm not quite sure like how the Texans' defense will come out against the run. So I mean.
Yeah, that's my only concern as well.
I'm not sure, but for all I know, he could have another big game. I mean, so far he's been 100+ yards and some touchdowns pretty much every game. So either way, that should be a good pick. And now you get to pick either receiver, tight end, or kicker next.
All right, I'm going to go with tight end Larry Donnell, or Donald, however you say it, from the Giants.
All right.
He had a huge week on Monday night, I believe it was.
All right, and Giants look like they're putting it together a little bit. So they could be a bit of a threat. They're playing the Falcons. They at home. So, all right. Tight end for me. I don't even remember who did I have last. All right, I had Jimmy Graham last week, so I can't take him. Let me think here. You know what? I'm thinking. I'm thinking that maybe Zach Ertz might have a bounce back week. I'm not totally sure. Now, you know what? I'm gonna go Antonio Gates against the Jets. The Jets apparently now they benched Geno Smith. Now they're bringing out Michael Vick, but I don't know if the Jets are on the right track right now. I'm thinking Gates is going to have maybe a bounce back game. He wasn't too involved last game, but this game maybe he'll throw his way a little more. So I'll go Antonio Gates at tight end. And now I'll pick wide receiver. I guess the second wide receiver here. Look across the board. I think I'll take Thomas. But no, I'm not going to go him because they got the Cardinals. Let me see who I even had last week. Did I have Julio Jones last week? No, you had Julio Jones.
I had him.
That's right. All right. Yeah, I'm looking at that, and I'm gonna go Julio Jones. I think he should be a decent play against the Giants. I mean, I don't know, that game could go either way, but Julio Jones maybe will have a bounce back week, so I'll go back to Julio Jones like I did a couple weeks ago.
Okay. I'm caught up between AJ Green and Emmanuel Sanders. So it's just going to be a coin flip, more or less. So I'll just go AJ Green.
All right. Yeah, that's probably one maybe I could have taken too, but it's probably a good pick. Patriots, I don't know. They're very questionable right now. It's hard to believe.
We always say I have good picks, and then you steamroll me.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens this week. I mean, Antonio Brown for me was, I think, a big difference last week at least on my team. He had a field day, so it was a good pick. But all right, so then last but not least, kind of least, the kicker. You pick.
All right, I'm gonna pick Mike Nugent.
All right, Nugent. And for me, I had Mason Crosby last week. And yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go Cody Parkey for the Eagles. He's been pretty reliable this season, and I think the Eagles will move the ball a little more than last week, certainly, get out of this week. I might go a Redskin here, and I think I'm going to go with Alfred Morris. I think he's going to have a bounce back week against the Giants. Giants defense, they have some issues, I think, and certainly, I think the Eagles really geared on him last week, but I think Alfred Morris will have a good week against the Giants, and so we'll see how that pans out. Now next, we either got tight end or kicker on the board. I think I'll go tight end here. Last week I picked Zach Ertz. That didn't do anything for me, but fortunately this week I kind of have an open board in that regard. And I think I'm going to have to go back to Jimmy Graham like 2 weeks ago I did. At the Cowboys, I think the Saints are going to start looking a little more like the Saints we would expect this week after they won. And maybe they'll re-expose the Cowboys defense this week. Even though the Cowboys, they kind of gave up certainly some points to the Rams. So yeah, I'm gonna go Jimmy Graham. Maybe have a bounce back week on his end.
All right, and as for my tight end, I think I'm gonna go with Antonio Gates from San Diego.
Yeah, that's probably a good pick. I mean, again, they play the Jaguars, so yeah, that could pay off. Gates still, he's in his 30s, I think now, but he's still playing pretty well. And he was key against that Seattle win that they had last week. So finally, kicker, you pick that first.
All right, let's see. Who did I have last week? Let me check.
Last week you had Matt Bryant from the Falcons.
So this week I think I'm going to go with Robbie Gould. It's going to be a pretty much a shootout, I think, between Chicago and Green Bay. So I predict a lot of field goals. So hopefully that works out.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that game too, which is I think why I'm going to go with the Packers kicker Mason Crosby on that note. I think it'll be sort of a shootout game. And I would expect the Packers will be in field goal range a decent amount of times. I mean, Bears in that game last night, they seem to have a lot of guys in their secondary go down. I know you said you were watching that game last night, definitely.